Welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Professor Ganesha Somayaji from Goa University speaking to you on Max Weber and the theory of education. Max Weber, one of the founders of modern sociology, is known for his social action model of society and interpretive methodology to study social action. Like his contemporary sociologist and social thinker Karl Marx, Weber did not write directly on education. It was Emil Durkheim who developed independently educational sociology. Max Weber is known for his understanding of modernity and its disenchantment, and also studying modernity through interpretive methodology. Though in Weber's works we do not come across ideas on education directly, we get some hints to understand modern education in most of his works. In his study of bureaucracy, he makes direct references to education, and also while studying, historically studying world religions, he makes references to the educational system in China to understand religion in China. In spite of this, all of Weber's theoretical contributions, including interpretive methodology, ideal type, and typology of social action, have been used by later educational sociologists in making sense of contemporary education. We have to therefore look into contributions of Weber to the study of sociology. We will now introduce Weber's sociological ideas, because against the background of his sociological ideas, we are going to discuss Weber's contribution to the theory of education. Raymond Aron, before examining the major sociological contributions of Weber, arranges his books into 4 categories. 1. Studies in methodology, criticism, and philosophy. These studies are concerned essentially with the social sciences in general and history and sociology in particular. Second set of books of Weber referred to strictly historical works which concentrated on the relations of production in the ancient world. The third set of studies are in the sociology of religion, which include Weber's much acclaimed Protestant ethic thesis and later comparative study of world religions. The fourth category, which Aron considers, is Weber's master work on general sociology, economy and society, which was published posthumously. It is a treatise on general sociology. It is in this work that Weber gave a definition of sociology which clarifies the nature, scope and methodology of the fledgling discipline which he practiced. Quote Weber: "Sociology is a science concerning itself with the interpretive understanding of social action and thereby with a causal explanation of its course and consequences. We shall speak of action insofar as the acting individual attaches a subjective meaning to his behavior, be it overt or covert, omission or acquiescence. Action is social insofar as its subjective meaning takes account of the behavior of others and is thereby oriented in its course." Unquote Weber. Concerning himself with social action, Weber wanted to achieve 2 goals. He was a theorist of modernity and he wanted to understand the origin and unique features of modern Western societies. Secondly, he wanted to construct a system of abstract concepts that would be useful in describing and understanding the social actions of modern actors. As systematic social scientific research is not possible without such precise concepts, Weber constructed a series of such sensitizing concepts. Roland Fletcher identifies some distinguishing characteristics of sociology. Firstly, Subjective understanding as a causal explanation. Subjective understanding of social action contributes to causal explanation of why actors select certain course of action and not certain others. Second feature of sociology, Weberian sociology, is man in society, a qualitatively distinctive subject matter. In the work of Weber, men as feeling, thinking, willing, acting and responsible beings constitute the subject matter of sociology. Men attach meaning to their actions, and the subject matter of sociology contains these subjective dimensions of meaning which are actually operative as causes of social action. The third distinctive feature, the scientific study of man in society, a distinctive dimension of explanation. The type of methodology to deal with this distinctive subject matter too has to be distinctive. Such a methodology is different from that of natural sciences. In methodological and theoretical sense, a sociologist goes beyond the perception of the phenomenal reality. Sociology and other cultural sciences are richer in their subject matter than the natural sciences can possibly be. The fourth distinctive feature, sociology, a science richer in subject matter and methods but therefore less exact. Because of the subjective orientations of sociology, it could neither hope nor expect to attain the same degree of measurable exactness in conclusions. This does not mean that sociology and other cultural sciences are unscientific. This means that given the nature of its subject matter, only certain degree of exactitude can be expected. The fifth distinctive feature of sociology, values and problems in scientific sociology. Weber commented on the role of values in sociological research. During Weber's time, many observers did not think that an objective social science was plausible because it seemed impossible to separate values from the research process. So, most scholars attempting to describe human behavior infused their analysis with political, religious and other values. Weber confronted the problem of values by observing that sociological inquiry should be objective. In consonance with his ontological positions on the subject matter of sociology, Weber developed distinctive methods for sociology. Weber's conception of the subject matter of sociology and his ideas on the distinction between values and science decided his views on the methodology of sociology. While acknowledging the difficulty in separating values from objective scientific practice, Weber also highlighted the relevance of values before and after the research process. The choice of topic comes before the actual conducting of research, where the researcher's religious beliefs, economic interests and other values lead to the topics for research. Unlike other classical sociologists, Weber rejected the search for general laws in favor of historical theories that provide for an interpretive understanding of social action and to arrive at causal explanations of its course and consequences. In his substantial sociological studies, Weber focused on the big empirical questions such as the emergence of capitalism in the West and not in the East. The development of general theories would not allow for an examination of such issues. Ideal types were his methodological tools for dealing with these issues. Let us now come to understand education from a social action model. As we noted in the beginning, Weber considers meaningful social action as the subject matter of sociology. Weber points out Weber's point of departure from other classical sociologists, according to Aaron, is the distinction between four types of action. First is Zweck rational action or rational action in relation to a goal. Second is Wert rational action or rational action in relation to a value. Third is affective action or emotional action, and the fourth is traditional action. This classification of types of action has been argued, elaborated and refined ever since Weber conceived it for several reasons. Aaron postulates 4 reasons. Weber conceives of sociology as a comprehensive science of social action. The typology of actions is therefore the most abstract level of the conceptual system applicable to the social field. The classification of types of domination, rational domination, traditional domination, charismatic domination, depends on the previous classification on an even higher level of abstraction of the 4 types of action. Sociology is also a comprehensive science of social action. Aaron gives accentuation to comprehensive, which refers to an understanding of the meaning man gives to his conduct. Thirdly, the classification of types of action to a certain extent governs the Weberian interpretation of the contemporary era. For Weber, prime feature of the modern era is rationalization, which is the product of the widening sphere of Zweck rational actions. Fourthly, this classification of types of action may be correlated with what constitutes the heart of Weber's philosophical thought, namely the interdependence between science and politics. Throughout his life, Weber was passionately interested in the question, what is the ideal type of the political man? Who is the ideal type of a professor? How can one be both a politician and a professor? The last question was for him both personal and philosophical. Sociologists of education compare this social action model of society with social system model of society. Iwetz, for example, juxtaposes system and action models in sociology of education. While applying the social system model, education is addressed holistically in terms of social needs fulfilled by it. For an action theorist, an analysis of education always means analysis in terms of the motivation of a hypothetical actor. In this approach, the needs of the social system to have education is not highlighted. It is the motivation of individual actors who make the education system is seen as the prime subject matter of sociology of education. Proponents of this model distinguish sociological and psychological explanation. A simple psychological explanation would describe human behavior in terms of what effect an individual's own motivation had on his overt behavior. The sociological explanation includes the notion of social interaction, where motivation of individual actors in relation to each other is considered for explanation. In this perspective, the actions of the various categories of individuals in the educational sphere are attempted to be understood. One of the advantages of this approach, according to Iwetz, is the freedom from the consensus framework of system theory. The social action approach even facilitates to look into the conflict and change aspects of education as a socio-cultural institution. When we combine the notion of action with that of interaction, we can attempt at a reconciliation of system and action approaches. By looking into the interactions taking place in the educational system, we can discern the unintended consequences of different actors in an educational system. Therefore, system and action approach in sociology of education may complement each other. Let us now look into modernity and the need for value-free education as propounded by Max Weber. Sociology as a discipline emerged to study the changes taking place in the transition from a traditional to a modern society. Like other classical sociologists, Weber too was interested in analyzing the newly emerging modern society. For Weber, modern society was characterized by a shift from traditional to a rational worldview. This rationality involved a way of thinking that emphasizes deliberate, matter-of-fact calculation of the most efficient way to accomplish a particular task. As already highlighted in the social action theory, modernity is characterized by increasing rationalization. In his analysis of the status of education as a social institution, Weber feels that the rationality and rationalization of modernity has seeped into all spheres of life, including education. This in turn has led to disenchantment. Weber opines that as the academic community modernized and adjusted itself to the socio-economic transformations taking place in Germany and other parts of Europe, it failed to maintain its integrity and distinction. Weber saw the university moving away from its moral focus on self-formation and as succumbing to the whims and dictates of political establishments as well as industrial capitalism. He writes, I quote Weber, all concessions which the faculties make to non-intellectual considerations, and particularly all deviations from the fundamental principle of appointing as many intellectually outstanding persons as possible, take their revenge in the ultimate weakening of the moral authority of the faculties. The threat to the professoriate from patronage, Weber viewed as endangering the academic profession's sense of corporate solidarity. For Weber, the pursuit of knowledge as practiced in the academic world was an honorable task, and a professor was a member of a guild with the calling. The politicians of the new age were threatening to take that agency away, reducing a vocation to a salary. Weber feared that the academic profession would gradually become a system of what he calls operators, personally who will fit into this machinery without any further thought, while it actually produces conflicts of conscience and leads them into taking false steps, the consequences of which they will have to bear throughout their academic lives. Unquote Weber. Value-free education as a means of political calling. Weber sought to define value-free science as a means to re-establish the integrity of the academic calling. The academic goals of all intellectual pursuits should emphasize their ethical and moral contributions to society. He is perturbed by the increasingly practical nature of universities. He considers education to be a moral force that is more important than profit. Weber opined that more than technical know-how and gaining factual knowledge, a student should focus on developing an academic personality. This personality is cultivated through the development of a critical mind and the ability to differentiate facts from value judgments. Weber envisions a revamped academic role in society as the older, traditional professional type is no longer capable of adequately functioning under conditions of disenchantment. The moot question for Weber is how modern science can inform political decision making without relinquishing its status and distinction as a producer of knowledge. Weber opines that the practice of a value-free education is a solution to this modern predicament plaguing education. Weber outrightly rejects the direct academic involvement in the political domain, as he feels that this will destroy the integrity and status of academia. He nevertheless saw academics as an indispensable informant of political praxis. It needs to provide new models for political leadership to minimize the hold that bureaucratic domination has in political establishments. By mastering the art of value-free science, the academic could enter the elite group of a special intellectual class that embodied an almost spiritual dimension. The scientist's unique access to otherwise inaccessible knowledge of the world, as Weber's model of value-free science asserts, suggests a near prophetic application of scientific results. In conclusion, we can state that in spite of no direct reference to education in Weber's sociological theories, Weber continues to be relevant in understanding contemporary education scenario. He has made passing references to education in many of his theoretical works, and directly he has referred to education in his works on bureaucracy and the study of contemporary comparative religions, especially in the study of Chinese literati. Weber's ideas on rationalization of the modern world, disenchantment in the modern world, his analysis of power, elites, status groups, and authority are relevant to understand hierarchy in contemporary educational system. Many neo-Weberian perspectives use Weberian perspective in understanding conflict in modern education system, especially C. Wright Mills, who combined Marx and Weber in the analysis of contemporary elite organizations, made use of interpretive methodology and Weberian theory on status quo to understand modern educational system. Thus, C. Wright Mills has shown that there is continuity in relevance of Weber in understanding educational system.